Sir Bobby gets the sack. He's blamed for Newcastle's poor start to the season. Disappointed to be going, but he says he'll remain a fan. We're live at St James's Park for the very latest.
Sky News with Alan King and Kay Burley.
Good afternoon. Our top story this hour. Massively disappointed. That's Sir Bobby Robson's reaction to being sacked as manager of Newcastle United.
71-year-old was relieved of his duties by the club after being held responsible for the poor start to the season. They haven't won a single game since the Premiership got underway.
Sir Bobby leaving his beloved Newcastle just a few minutes after being sacked as the club's manager. The emotion clear to see on his face. The stress of a poor start to Newcastle's season was already apparent a couple of weeks ago. After repeated questions about the club and his future, he ended the press conference.
Or between you and everybody, just a conspiracy going on to knock the club at any particular level. And I shall say that gentleman today, and I'll ask him how he can write that sort of article to undermine this particular football club. It's shameful. It's actually shameful.
Does that conspiracy stretch to your management, do you feel? Do you feel that there was a...
Well, I'm not... you're very investigative. I've said enough. Cheerio.
Sir Bobby Robson has been an icon of football for more than 4 decades. This recent ad for Barclays capitalised on that fact, featuring him in every scene, along with other famous faces from the beautiful game. Football players have been quick to pay tribute to Sir Bobby's contribution to Newcastle, despite the lack of silverware.
He won't grudge about it, and no doubt I bet you in a few months' time or even shorter he'll be in another manager's job, that's for sure.
Sir Bobby has managed Newcastle for 5 years, but with just 2 points from 4 games this season, they were 16th in the league. Today the club called it a day, saying they were relieving him of his duties. In a statement they said, the club continues to have the greatest respect and admiration for Sir Bobby and his lifelong achievements both at home, abroad, and particularly at the club he has supported since a boy, his beloved Newcastle.
Doing it after just 4 games of the football season smacks a little bit of panic to me by the Newcastle directors, or particularly by the chairman, Freddie Shepherd. And I don't think it reflects very well on him, and certainly it's not the way Bobby would have chosen to go.
This was Sir Bobby receiving his knighthood in 2002. In his long football career, he's won 20 England caps, playing for his country in the World Cup in 1958. But at 71, there must be a significant question mark over where his career goes next. Martin Popplewell, Sky News.
Well, Steve Wraith, the North East sports writer, joins us now from St James's Park. Hello to you, Steve. No surprise, really. How do you think the fans will react, though?
It's a disappointing day for Newcastle United. I know there's a lot of sentiment about Sir Bobby Robson. He's been a tremendous servant to the club, as he was to England, and it's a very, very sad day for Newcastle United. I think, though, it was imminent, and probably for the football club, Bobby had to go.
OK, but why now? I mean, they gave him a year-long contract in the summer. If they were so disappointed with his services, why didn't they let him go in the summer?
I just think that, again, sentiment came into it. Freddie Shepherd obviously announced at the start of the season that Bobby's contract wouldn't be renewed at the end of the season. And I think that shocked a lot of people. I mean, I think, to be honest, we knew that Bobby was going. And I think it's just, as I say, it's a disappointing day. I think the timing may have something to do with the possibility that the new manager that the Mebbies wanted to bring in wasn't available. Obviously there's a lot of names getting thrown into the hat at the moment. I would imagine that it'll be somebody who's currently at a club who will probably end up here. The name David O'Leary is at the moment, I think, on everyone's lips. Obviously Birmingham have acted quickly to say that there's a bounty on Steve Bruce's head. I don't think he'll be venturing to St James's Park, but it is at the moment, I think, the even money will probably be on David O'Leary to come into Newcastle United.
What about Alan Shearer?
I think Alan wants to concentrate on hopefully breaking Jackie Milburn's record this year. He needs 27 goals, I believe, now to emulate one of our greatest number 9s, and I think, hopefully he will do that. It's ironic that our last 3 managers now have all been sacked in August, and obviously Ruud Hull, left the club because he wasn't running the club properly, but he left Alan Shearer on the bench in a game against Sunderland, and it's ironic that Bobby's last game in charge against Aston Villa, he dropped Alan Shearer too. I don't think Alan will be looking to take on the management job just yet. I know he will get it eventually. He will come in, and the fans will be over the moon about that, but I don't think that'll be for some time.
Is it ironic, or is it a warning to any future manager that they don't drop Alan Shearer?
I don't really think those two things are entwined. I mean, Alan's a great servant of the club. He's a fantastic striker. He's the best striker that's ever been in the Premiership. But I just think that at the end of the day, Bobby's tenure was up. He's done 5 wonderful years at the club. Unfortunately, he hasn't won that trophy. I know every fan that's probably passing St James's Park today would wish Bobby well. I still think he'll probably continue in football. But Alan Shearer is what Newcastle United's all about. He sacrificed winning trophies at Manchester United to come to his hometown club and try and win that elusive trophy for us. And he is a big player. I don't think Alan Shearer really should be sitting on the bench in a Premiership game. Maybe that has been the undoing of Bobby, who knows? But as I say, we really want to wish Bobby well, and just hope that he enjoys a little bit of retirement before he decides what to do.
When might you expect your new manager? It's going to have to be pretty quick, isn't it, if you're going to snatch Rooney from under the nose of Man U?
Yeah, I mean, we've got to get a new manager in place, and as I say, I think Freddie Shepherd knows what he's doing, and I do think that the timing hasn't been perfect, but it has been perfect in a way that now we've got a break because England have got an international coming up. Newcastle's next game is now September the 11th against Blackburn Rovers at home. I do expect the new manager to be in place at that time. There's so many names that could be in the hat, but I do think it's down to maybe one or two managers. David O'Leary, I think, probably will be the man that steps into the hot seat. I've got a bit of inside information from one of my friends in the press. It was down at the press conference after the Aston Villa game, and David O'Leary was apparently making noises to say that it was a sleeping giant, it was a big club, and he would love to possibly manage a club like that one day. And apparently that was the way David O'Leary was going on Saturday. So that would be great if he comes to the club. I think he'll be able to carry the club forward. And as I say, it's an exciting club. It's a club which always has a story coming out of it. And as I say, we're just all still waiting for the silverware. We've been waiting for such a long time. The terrific supporters deserve it. Let's hope we can do it in the next couple of seasons.
Okay, Steve, thanks a lot.
No problem, thank you.
Sky News with Alan King and Kay Burley.
Hello, very good afternoon. Our top story this bank holiday Monday, massively disappointed. That's Sir Bobby Robson's reaction to being sacked as manager of Newcastle United.
The 71-year-old was relieved of his duties by the club after being held responsible for a poor start to the season.
They haven't won a single game since the Premiership got underway.
Sir Bobby leaving his beloved Newcastle just a few minutes after being sacked as the club's manager. The emotion clear to see on his face. The stress of a poor start to Newcastle's season was already apparent a couple of weeks ago. After repeated questions about the club and his future, he ended the press conference.
Or between you and everybody, just a conspiracy going on to knock the club at any particular level. And I shall say that gentleman today, and I'll ask him how he can write that sort of article to undermine this particular football club. It's shameful. It's actually shameful.
Does that conspiracy stretch to your management, do you feel? Do you feel that there was a...
Well, I'm not... you're very investigative. I've said enough. Cheerio.
Sir Bobby Robson has been an icon of football for more than 4 decades. This recent ad for Barclays capitalised on that fact, featuring him in every scene, along with other famous faces from the beautiful game. Football players have been quick to pay tribute to Sir Bobby's contribution to Newcastle, despite the lack of silverware.
He won't grudge about it, and no doubt I bet you in a few months' time or even shorter he'll be in another manager's job, that's for sure.
Sir Bobby has managed Newcastle for 5 years, but with just 2 points from 4 games this season, they were 16th in the league. Today the club called it a day, saying they were relieving him of his duties. In a statement they said, the club continues to have the greatest respect and admiration for Sir Bobby and his lifelong achievements both at home, abroad, and particularly at the club he has supported since a boy, his beloved Newcastle.
Doing it after just 4 games of the football season smacks a little bit of panic to me by the Newcastle directors, or particularly by the chairman, Freddie Shepherd. And I don't think it reflects very well on him, and certainly it's not the way Bobby would have chosen to go.
This was Sir Bobby receiving his knighthood in 2002. In his long football career, he's won 20 England caps, playing for his country in the World Cup in 1958. But at 71, there must be a significant question mark over where his career goes next. Martin Popplewell, Sky News.
Well, Sky's Gerard Tubbs joins us now from St James's Park. Hello again to you, Gerard. Sir Bobby has now left his desk, complete with one of his golf clubs, as we noticed. Very disappointing time for him. What are the fans saying?
Well, it's not a surprise to them. I mean, we've known, as Martin was just saying, for some time. The writing's been on the wall. It's a question. It has been a question of when, not if. We knew that he wasn't going to be the manager after the end of this season, but I think the timing will have taken him by surprise. He said quite recently that he had no intention of retiring, certainly no intention of giving up football. He said, "I'm fit. I've still got a footballing brain," and he wanted to keep going. He was almost in tears as he was led away, driven away from the training ground. I was there just a few hours ago. He really did look as if the emotion was getting to him. I mean, he has been something of a saviour after the time when Ruud Gullit was here. When Sir Bobby Robson came, the fans said it gave them something to be proud of again. The black and white shirt gave them pride. Sir Bobby Robson was their hero. But of course, as Martin said, no silverware, and that's what drives this club even more so than many others. You know, they haven't won anything since 1969. That's a long time.
So he's 71. We don't know what he's going to do, whether he's going to take a long-earned rest or whether he's actually going to put himself forward for another club. But who might take his job?
Well, Gerard Houllier, John Gregory, Alan Shearer, take your pick. Alan Shearer, of course, has made no bones of the fact that he wants to be manager. He's taken his coaching badges. He would love, I'm sure, to step in here. But Freddie Shepherd is the man who drives this club, the millionaire chairman. He's a man with a lot of money, with his own ideas. The word is that it was he who sold Jonathan Woodgate from underneath Bobby Robson, really. So he, we're told, has been making a lot of the decisions in recent months. I'm sure he knows who he would like. There was some rumour that perhaps the club was going to hold a news conference in about half an hour's time. I understand that is wrong. I don't think that is going to happen. Of course, no, I've said that it will. But I think they're still keeping their powder dry. We will hear more and more names coming forward. Who you speak to depends on who you hear is favourite. But I think it'll be a big name. This is a big club. They want a trophy, and they're going to go out and try to get one.
Well, if they don't announce a new manager before midnight tomorrow, then he's not going to have any new signings for now, and he'll have to make do with who he's got. Presumably, Alan Shearer will be back on the pitch rather than on the bench.
Well, of course, it was Alan Shearer falling out with the manager when Ruud Gullit was here that did for Ruud Gullit, the last manager of Newcastle, 5 years ago. Yes, Alan Shearer started on the bench on Saturday's match. Of course, Newcastle lost 4-2. That did not go down well. So Alan Shearer does in some ways seem to be bigger than this club. Yes, he would have to, once that transfer window closes, manage with what he's got. Wayne Rooney, of course, is the big name that's been linked to here. But we understand that he is going to go to Manchester United, so Newcastle probably going to lose out there. They have some big players. They have some players who suggested they might go elsewhere if Wayne Rooney came in. There were a number of spats with big name players between Bobby Robson and the dressing room. He'd really lost the support of the dressing room, if you like. So now he's out of the picture. Maybe the team will settle down. That will obviously be the hope. Bring in a manager who can galvanise the team, and they want to go forward. They obviously certainly want to stay in the Premiership. But above all, for a club that hasn't won anything for 35 years, they want a trophy. Anything will do.
Gerard, thank you. Start.